Greetings everyone, Brad here with Mild Mannered EDC. Today we're going to look at this purple beauty. It is the Civivi Brazen. Yeah, is that not a brazen knife? Yeah, and it's purple and it's Tonto blade and yeah, just pretty cool. So, you know, this actually caught me a little off guard. I ordered it because it looked interesting and I wanted to see, you know, kind of what I thought about it in general. But yeah, this one's pretty cool. And you're going to hear that as we kind of go through the review, some of the things that I really ended up liking about this knife. Not to do too much of a spoiler there, but yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at here. So Civivi, this is about a $50 knife. For those of you that don't know, Civivi is the sort of mid-tier brand for the Wii knife company, with the Wii brand being sort of the higher end, and then Sencut, their new budget line. But this one's kind of right in the middle there. So there you go. Now, before we get underway, I just want to say, if you're new to the channel and just coming across this, welcome. Glad to have you here. If you like this sort of mild-mannered knife content, would love to have you subscribe and join the family here on the channel. And for those of you that already do subscribe and support the channel and me, you know, I appreciate it, and it means a lot to me. So anyways, so with that, let's get underway. We'll do some specs, then we'll do a couple size comparisons, and then we'll get underway with our classic mild-mannered review. So let's do a few specs on this Civivi Brazen. We've got a 3.5-inch blade. There you go. And an interesting blade at that, isn't it? We'll talk about that in a sec. You got a 0.12 inch blade thickness here. That gives you a handle length when it's closed up of 4.5 inches, a handle thickness of a little under an inch, so making me happy, 0.48 inches, and an overall tip to tail when it's all opened up of an 8-inch knife. So very much in that, you know, mid to larger size knife, but not out of line at all. And I think a very good size for kind of EDC carry. And then a weight of 3.8 ounces, which I think is pretty darn decent considering, you know, a 3.5-inch blade and just 8 inches overall. So 3.8 ounces, yeah, I like that quite a bit. So let's do a couple size comparisons so we can see kind of what we're dealing with here. How about up against a Ontario Rat number 1? As you can see, it is, oops, let me bump that up a little bit. Sorry about that. As you can see, it is smaller, more compact than the Ontario Rat here. And again, this is my modified Spidey Rat, but all the dimensions are still the same. I would note though, when you place it on top of it, you know, sort of blade length to blade length here, you there you go. Sorry, the Brazen is just as long as the Ontario Rat number 1 there. So while you've got a more compact sort of overall package, it's definitely giving you a lot of sort of cutting ability there, which is pretty cool. Okay, how about another Civivi, another newer one, and for this year, the Pintail, Civivi Pintail. There it is. So you can see it's a bit larger than the Pintail. And again, this is a newer offering here from Civivi here in 2021, if I didn't mention that. Okay, there we've done some size comparisons for those of you that love that. And let's get underway with this review. And let's talk about this blade. Because when we do a classic mild manner review, right, we'll talk blade, then action, scales and hardware, and ergos and carry. So this blade here is really, really quite interesting. And, you know, it's not something you would normally see here on my channel. And partly because it's a little bit more aggro, a little bit more tactical than I generally gravitate towards in my knives. In fact, I don't believe I have, I'm kind of glancing over. I don't think I have any other Tonto blades in my collection at the moment. So this is kind of unique for me anyways. So what do we have here on this very, very sterile, very clean, but very interesting blade? We've got a D2 steel making up the blade, and there are no markings anywhere of the D2 or Civivi or anything else for that matter. So that's pretty cool, I think. You've got this flat, stone-washed kind of look, which I think is actually done quite well. Looks very, very nice. There is a blacked out or black, grayish, whatever you call it, stone-washed version of this as well. So if you don't like this color, there is another option out there. And the other thing that's kind of interesting in particular to me is a compound grind. And, you know, this compound grind really sets off a lot of the little angles that this blade sort of has, whether it's with the plunge line and the choil or the swedge. I mean, just the whole thing is pretty darn cool with, you know, and again, compound grinds aren't necessarily even sort of my thing either, but this one just does it really, really well. I like it a lot. And boy, that grind that they did, it is sure slicey and thin behind the edge. You know, as Civivis go, I mean, it's not the thinnest knife behind the edge that I've ever had, but this one's darn thin considering the size of the blade. And it's just overall, I think, done really, really well. Beautifully done grind. It's even. It's almost a little bit mirror polishy. Yeah, there's really a lot to like about this. So you do have a little jimping. It's pretty soft, muted jimping here up on the top. Obviously thumb studs for deployment. We'll talk about that in action here in just a moment. But overall, yeah, this is a cool blade. I just think it looks really neat. And I'm sure, well, and from a cutting standpoint, it does that all very well, you know, in addition. But if you're looking for something, I guess, that's a little more for those tactical purposes, I'm sure this would meet those needs. All right, so that's what we've got there with the blade. Let's talk about the action on this knife. And, you know, yeah, it's very, very good. Civivi, you know, they're known for having really good action. So I don't think that's overly surprising here in any way. Although I will say this feels a little better than some of the actions I've had from them more recently. In all honesty. So really, really liking that. You can deploy this through a number of ways. You can use the flipper tab. There you go. You can use the thumb studs, just like that. And it is even quite flickable with your middle finger there, or I suppose you could even use your index finger. Ooh, you see how that, that was a slow roll, wasn't it? Yeah, so that's really great. It's conducive to all those. And part of the reason for that is because it's running on caged ceramic ball bearings, as almost all Civivis do. So, yeah, nothing to complain about in the action at all. In fact, I mentioned deployment being great and smooth and easy, but closing it up equally nice. Just super buttery smooth. So this is really, like I said, maybe one of the better actions I've gotten from Civivi, or I've had on a Civivi knife, certainly recently. So really, really do like that. All right, we've got a liner lock here with this particular knife, and you know, it's about a, I don't know if you can see that, I think you can. Try to arrange that. About a 50% lock up there. No blade play, no blade rock at all. And in fact, I did have some blade play on a recent Civivi that I chose not to review for that very reason. So anyways, I'm glad to see they didn't do that here. Okay. So that's sort of what we got with action. I mean, yeah, between the blade and the action, this thing's pretty darn good. But that's not where the, you know, where the good stops. So let's go into talking about scales and hardware here. So this, you can see purple. We've got a purple knife. Who doesn't love purple knives, right? I definitely do like purple knives, and this is no exception. This is a very, very nice purple. Sort of that classic Civivi G10 pattern. Nothing, nothing to write home about in terms of being different there. So you do have this purple G10. You have a G10 purple backspacer, which also includes the lanyard hole. I think you can see there. There you go. You do have, beyond that, sort of flow-through construction. But you do have these blacked out stainless steel liners, which are skeletonized, which I think is a really, really nice touch. And there is obviously other colors behind besides purple. So if you're not a purple fan, you can get these you can get this, Brazen in a couple other colors. So if you're not a purple person, and I'm actually out here in Washington State, and I'm a big Washington State Cougar fan. So the fact that I'm praising purple, our arch nemesis, the Huskies, at the University of Washington. Yeah, this takes a little bit of, I'm being very fair by saying how much I like this because, because I am not a Dogs fan. But anyways, little regional insights there from me out here in Washington State. So anyways, back to what we were talking about. So yeah, you've got blacked out hardware here. You got that nice Civivi pivot, and then a black stainless steel deep carry pocket clip, as they've been putting on most of their knives as well. So very, very nice. All right, so speaking of pocket clips and G10 and all this other stuff, let's talk about the ergos and carry of this particular knife. The ergos. So I mentioned how much I like the blade and how much I really like the action. The ergos really caught me off guard. This thing feels great in the hand. I mean, really. This has maybe the best ergos of any Civivi. I don't know, the backlash is pretty darn good, but this one fits my hand beautifully. I really, really like it. And I feel no need to try to choke up on what is essentially not a finger choil. This is definitely a sharpening choil. I mean, maybe if you have tiny little skinny fingers, you might be able to use that as a way to choke up, but I think you're asking for trouble. So for me, having it, kind of fit. And I think this goes back to when I was talking about the size comparison between the Ontario Rat. While the blade length is there. You don't have this long handle so that when you're holding the knife, you don't feel like super far away from it. You know, that kind of bothers me, that feeling. So I really do like that I can get into this, you know, with no hot spots. I know hot spots are subjective, but no hot spots. Really get into this and feel close and in control of the blade, but also super comfortable. So I'm stressing the ergos because I think this is a really, really well done ergonomic knife. Thumbs up! So there you go. I'm liking that quite a bit. And in terms of carry, as I mentioned, pretty darn compact, right? I mean, as we talked about the size, it's not a small knife, but it's quite compact when it's all kind of folded up and ready to go in your pocket. You do have a reversible left side, right side, tip up carry pocket clip, also a nice touch. So, you know, and it is deep carry, as I mentioned, legitimately deep carry. You do have some pretty flush screws, although they don't completely sink the pocket clip down below or recess that into the liners or into the scales rather, but they do use flat head screws in there. So yeah, there's really nothing in the way. And this does slip in and out of the pocket very, very well. So, you know, overall, I think this is my favorite Civivi. Honestly, I think the Civivi Brazen is just a really, really good option, especially if you're digging that compound grind and the Tonto and, you know, in this case, I guess the purple, just the whole package for me. I love the flipper and thumb stud option. I love that the thumb studs or that the detent is dialed into the point where, you know, flicking it out with your finger, using the thumb studs is easy. The action, the closing action, just the whole package here. This is, I think, one of the best Civivis I've come across. And like I said, I think the Backlash would have previously sort of helped that title for me. But this one, yeah, this one I like a lot. And I definitely recommend this for folks looking. And for $50, I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, I try to keep my budget category a little bit below that and, you know, more in the 35, 40 range at the most. But for what this knife is offering for $50, yeah. I'm giving this a thumbs up. This is a really good offering from Civivi at a very competitive price point in a good tool steel. Yeah, I recommend it. I really do, especially if you like the looks. So Civivi Brazen, if this is, you know, if you're kind of picking up what this is putting down, I really do, you know, especially maybe if you're a Husky here at the University of Washington. But no, I mean, if you like the way this looks and this is kind of speaking to you, I think you can order one of these with confidence because this is a very, very cool knife. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this review. Thanks so much for watching. Most importantly, stay safe out there. Be mild-mannered to one another. And all the best.